The real stage. Wife of 5 years has checked out of the marriage and is done. This coming on the heels of a 6-week reconciliation we were building on after discovering some old texts in her phone between her and another guy. These were 6 to 8 month old texts. She gave me full access to all her accounts, phone, email, Facebook, etc. We go 6 weeks with things looking up, improving day by day. I go to KC for the weekend with my guy friends and notice on my security camera app that my wife came home at 2 a.m. with a female from work. I thought it was weird, so I contacted one of her friends to inquire. That friend calls my wife saying I think my wife is a lesbian. My wife explodes at me and says no more. She can't take this crap anymore. She's done. Turns out my wife isn't a lesbian. I handled that situation poorly, and that was the last straw for my marriage. She has hired an attorney and gone marble cold towards me. I no longer have access to any of her accounts or passwords. I have no reason to believe she is having an affair because I can account for her whereabouts 99% of the time. We have a 2-year-old daughter together. She is our world. Wife is not interested in working on our marriage in any way. Just wants out. All her friends and family are pushing her to leave also. What can I do? Last night we had a long convo that consisted of her telling me how bad she has had it for 5 years of marriage, how miserable she has been, how she has lost herself in the process, how she just wants to put this all behind her and pick up the pieces and move on with her life. She feels like I'm never going to change. She feels like she has given all she has to give. She feels like she is trapped in a marriage that she doesn't want. I listened to all of this with a calm demeanor, eye contact, and validation. I told her I understand how she feels and I am sorry for what I have done to make her feel that way. Had I known she was struggling all along, I would have been in the trenches with her working on the marriage. She took it all upon herself and finally gave up. She changed the subject to custody and what she wants out of a divorce. I told her I am hurt that our daughter will spend 16 years living in a broken home. She said it doesn't have to be that way, and that she wants custody of our kids so she can have one home, and I get all the visitation that I want. Then she broke down saying her biggest fear is that I will take our daughter away from her. I told her I have no intention of any such thing, and that if it were to come to a divorce, the only fair way to go about it is joint 50-50 custody. She broke down again and said she couldn't handle only having our daughter half the time and it wasn't even an option for her. My attorney this morning told me otherwise. Based on my work schedule and hers, my ability to care for her and provide for her versus my wife's, and the history we have of sharing the parental role, 50/50 is where it will end up. She is chasing a dream. So that showed me some insight as to one avenue that might cause her to reconsider, and to bring my wife back to reality. She needs to face giving up half of our daughter's childhood as the price to pay for her walking away from the marriage. Is it really worth it? This is the struggle I have faced myself. I have 100 reasons to leave, but I owe it to my daughter to work things out with her mom, raise her in a happy home with 2 loving parents. Any pointers on how to play this? I intend to contest and fight this divorce all the way to the end either way. I don't think my wife is currently cheating or having an affair. I think she considered it a while back based on the texts I read, but I have no reason to believe she is cheating. After our talk last night, I retired to the guest bedroom with our daughter to sleep. My mind was racing and I had a weak moment. I sent her a long text that acknowledged her feelings, took 100% responsibility for failing her as a husband, reminding her that despite my behavior, my love for her is true and unwavering. I thanked her for everything she has given me over 9 years together and 5 years of marriage. A beautiful baby girl, companionship, friendship, undying and relentless optimism, a different perspective of family, and many other things. I humbly asked for her forgiveness one day for not taking better care of her and ended it by saying if she ever could find it in her heart, I am prepared to stop at nothing to give her the life and the love that she deserves. Her reply was that she has been fighting for our marriage for a long time. Now she is fighting for her happiness, and to please just let her have that. Hurts like you can't believe. 2 weeks ago, we were having the most passionate bonding of our entire relationship. Today she hates the air I breathe. The idea of my wife being with someone else causes me inexplicable pain. I can't get out of my mind what she will be doing in bed with someone else. It's eating me alive. As for our daughter, I know she will be okay. We are both good parents. She has had her sunshine pumped by her echo chamber of people to the point where she assumes she will just get full custody and ride off into the sunset. I'd like to know if she has something going on because it might give me the closure I need to move on. She has rewritten history as they all do. Our marriage has been pretty fun for the most part. We have had the typical quarrels that all marriages have, but never anything like this, and truthfully not ready to let go. I love my wife dearly and have always envisioned a marriage with her that stood the test of time. Around the time she had our daughter 2 years ago, our marriage really started stumbling, running on 3 cylinders. I wasn't the supportive man she needed with a newborn, and I wasn't getting any intimacy from her, so we resented each other. She carries this resentment and is unable to forgive me for any of it. Anytime something doesn't go her way or I drop the ball, those feelings are stirred back up. I will admit I have been on autopilot in this marriage and done serious damage in the process. That doesn't justify her cheating if that's what's going on. She seems to be in a hurry to push this divorce through and get it over with. I offered to agree to all the logistics of a divorce up front if she would go to marriage counseling with me for a few months first and then reevaluate. She said no. I GPS tracked her car until she found it and flew off the handle over it. Just recently she decided she was done and changed all the passwords to her devices, got an entirely new phone. So, I am now in the dark. All I can do is hire a PI, very expensive. She communicates with me about as well as a pine tree. She is a conflict avoider like the plague. Her personality is so bright and optimistic it's what originally attracted me to her. But that's the result of her avoidance of anything that even smells like conflict. Much less anything that would make her feel bad or portray her in a bad light. Comment: give her a quick divorce to get the best possible settlement for yourself. Strike now. Don't wait for her to decide she hates every fiber of your being. If you present to her a fair settlement in accordance with what a judge would likely come up with after a long, expensive fight, she will probably go for it rather than pay lawyers lots of money. If you wait, you'll lose. It is that simple. And, when somebody is done, they are done. This doesn't seem like a sudden out-of-the-blue decision on her part. I think your chances of wooing her back and her being a loving, faithful wife are zero. Sorry. OP responds: obviously, I know my wife better than any of you do. I know that she has an echo chamber that consists of about 5 close female friends, a sister, mother, aunt, stepmother, and godmother that all despise me with a passion. Is there a chance that given her submissive personality, combined with the amount of crap talking circulating amongst this support group she has, could that be the driving factor behind her adamancy about divorce? In other words, she has talked a big game to her peanut gallery and she now feels pressure from them to go through with this. Could that be keeping her from thinking about her decision clearly instead of an OM situation? Knowing my wife as well as I do, I can plausibly see my wife's friends and family being as much or more of an influence on her than an OM. Please don't read this as my naivety, but as an attempt at brainstorming this situation. Anytime we have had indifferences, my wife runs to them for support. They all hear the negatives of our relationship, but few or none of the positives. My wife handles conflict by garnering support from those that support her unconditionally, and have a biased view of our relationship. It's extremely toxic to our relationship given my wife's submissive personality. Her support group controls her like a robot. Our marriage counselor has recently started focusing on this as a major issue in our marriage, and from an independent counseling standpoint, her own issue. She just texted me. I haven't heard from her all day. We, wife and DD, are about to leave Gay Boss to go to the farm. I think we are eating when we come back. Just touching base with you. I haven't replied. She came home with my wife, and my wife told me they slept in our marital bed together because this chick was intimidated and scared to sleep in one of the guest rooms. He is gay, 68 years old, and has a life partner his age. After thinking about it tonight, I confronted her. I told her the gig is up. I know about the other guy, and I offered her an opportunity to own up and tell me what's going on, so I can have the closure I need to move on. She played the "what are you talking about" game. I bluffed and told her I know everything, but I wanted to give you a chance to come clean so we can end this amicably. She said, "What are you talking about? What do you know?" I gave her a chance again to volunteer info to me about what's been going on. She dug her heels in. I told her unless she wants me to drag this guy into court, very embarrassing testimony, this is her chance. She went with "I don't know what you want from me." I said the truth. She said, "There is nothing to tell." I said, "Fine. I will see you in court. I'm done." She has the decency of a common street bee. Will file tomorrow. My only hope here to shake this up is to take back control of the situation, if only for myself. After talking to her last night and giving her several opportunities to come clean with me, I may have just found the closure I need. If she has been cheating, then she gets to live with her conscience. If she hasn't been cheating, she never went out of her way to give me a shred of confidence that she wasn't. Either way, she has checked out, and the only hope for me to not feel raped is to put my pants on and end this on my terms. I could get on board with her just wanting to be done this easy if we didn't have a child. Our daughter is my wife's life. So, the idea that she is willing to give up half of that out of exhaustion or being over the marriage doesn't line up. I suspect it's a combination of 1. Another guy possibly waiting in the wings. 2. She demonizes me to her friends and family to make it appear as though she is escaping a toxic relationship. They take her side and support her leaving, most if not all of them having no idea about number 1. 3. Her sunshine pumpers have convinced her she is a good mother and has no reason not to expect full custody of our daughter. So, in her mind, she gives up nothing to get out of this marriage and pursue the other guy. What I want to understand, just for my own sanity, is how this plays out. Let's say I file for divorce, we get in the weeds of this and she realizes she isn't getting full custody. Is that going to change her mind? Will it cause her to reconsider her choices? I believe in reconciliation after an affair under the circumstances. I guess what I am asking is, would the reality check of her realizing she won't get full custody have a similar effect as exposing an affair? I am not talking about leverage. I'm talking about lifting the fog of her potential affair. That's what exposure is for when you have proof. I am in denial that my wife despises me. I know we loved each other for so long, up until the last couple months or so it seems. I think she isn't thinking clearly due to outside influence. In my mind, fighting off that outside influence is about the only way to help her see what she's doing. It's not about control. It's about fighting for my marriage. The security cameras are around our house for security purposes. They are not spy cameras. They are all in plain sight and everyone knows they are there, including her. I am going to fight for 50-50 custody of my daughter because I love her and want to be as active in her life as possible, while also realizing she needs her mother in her life an equal amount. My attempt at joint custody is in no way driven by hopes of manipulating my wife or leverage or anything else. My question revolved around what will happen in the wake of reality when it hits her that she is not going to get full custody. Will that have an effect on the fog or not? Seems to me like that will be a ton of bricks coming down on her. I struggled with being a new dad and not knowing how to play that role. It took me a full year to get my crap together and figure out what being a dad and being a parent is about. I have never been around babies, so the learning curve was very steep. No, I never left her. I just was not the supportive husband that she needed me to be in that moment. I tracked her car because I had reason to believe she was cheating. I had seen the texts in her phone to another guy. She deleted them shortly after that and denied them. Later she admitted to texting another guy but played it down as not what I was making it out to be, etc. So yes, in my mind I have had good reason to be spying on her. My attorney is advising me not to file. He said, I recommend letting her file. If you file, then you really need to be the one to move out, which I know you don't want to do. Plus, you don't want to be the one who files for divorce in a case in which you have a 2-year-old. Let's let you be the good guy. I reviewed the cameras to confirm she was doing what she told me she was doing. Call that spying if you must. But when you have suspicion of an affair, have been lied to, seen texts between her and another guy, I don't think spying is inappropriate at all. I'm looking at our marriage as whole. From the only perspective I have, which is my own. There is plenty to save. Tons of reasons. I believe she has other people doing the thinking for her, but I also believe she still loves me. Her actions are speaking otherwise. I'm not convinced there is another guy right now. I am convinced she has someone in mind though. So, I am handling this as if there is an active affair. But it seems as though the general consensus of the board is there is no saving this regardless of an affair or not. I have retained an attorney. Asked my wife this morning for the name and address of her attorney. She said why? And I said, because I want to send them flowers. I just 180 everything with her in that one moment. It was all over her face. My bluff was not a risk to anything. My wife wants a divorce and is completely checked out of the marriage. There is reasonable suspicion of another guy in the picture. There are 15 red flags that gave me cause for my behavior. I understand if I am wrong about a current affair, all this behavior appears a certain way. I also understand that a reasonable person that has nothing to hide would be more concerned about why their spouse feels the need to go to these extents, as opposed to being defensive and mad about it. Her friends hate me and I have a small circle of guy friends that are not much into the bar scene. My wife, 30, hangs out with a few of her coworkers, hairstylists. Some are married, some are not. None of them are marriage material though. Needless to say, we haven't gone out to the bars until 2 a.m. together one time since we have been married. That ended after the courtship. Things were on the upswing and we both felt fine about the weekend plans. There were no feelings of distrust on the front end. Update: I have spent the last 10 days apologizing my back off, falling hard on the sword, owning almost every problem in our relationship. I am seeing a therapist. I'm working on my knee-jerk emotions. I'm working on trust. Lots of things are happening on my side. I'm losing weight, joined a gym, eating better, drinking less, etc. I am letting her go. I wanted to file today, but my attorney, whom is a highly respected, feared litigator in domestic relations, has advised me that he is building a case of me being the good guy that is just trying to do what he can to save his marriage and provide for his family. That goes out the window if I am the one to file. I am following the advice of my attorney by letting her file. I asked for her attorney's name and she gave it to me. Right now, she is in between cars. We just sold her car and have a new Jeep on order. She is in a rental car. She has decided she doesn't want the Jeep and the dealership is letting us out of the deal, but she still wants me to help buy her a car. My attorney says to help her get a car but keep it reasonable. Everything in me wants to tell her about the 10-speed Huffy I saw on sale at Walmart yesterday, but I guess I will be buying my wife her drive-away car. The text she had, plenty of talk about our marriage and how unhappy she is. He reinforced her position and told her he thinks she should bail, etc. led me to believe more of an Ia than a Pia, at least at that time. Everybody keeps saying I am trying leverage my child. That's not at all what I was talking about. My point was what effect, if any, the cold water of joint custody will have on my wife's fairy tale vision of what divorce life is going to be like. She is adamant about getting custody because she wants our kid to have one home with her, and I get as much visitation with her as I want. I'm taking the position of not no, but hell no. She broke down bawling, crying, saying she is scared I'm going to fight her on that. I feel like she has convinced herself this is the way it's going to be and is ill-prepared to accept the fact that it's not going to be that way. She has in her mind a life that is better than what she has now. The problem is what she is envisioning is not what's coming. If she wants one home for her daughter, then we need to work on our marriage. Otherwise, it's two homes. That's just how it's going to be. At that point, she knew I was watching, so if anything was going on, she likely buried it. In my mind, if there is an OM influencing my wife right now, it's this one. There is also the possibility she has met someone else that I'm unaware of. I'm half paranoid, so I don't know what a logical scenario here looks like. Our core marital issues have been her as a conflict avoider, people pleaser, submissive and tolerant, combined with my dominant, indifferent, and critical personality. She feels like she has been beaten into a pulp emotionally by my personality, and her walls are 10 feet thick because of it. I see many ways to work through this and get back to being happy, but she says she can't put herself through it anymore. So, when word comes down the pipe to those people that she isn't getting full custody of our daughter, will be sharing her with me 50% of the time, will they kick the dirt and tell her maybe you should work it out instead? I mean seriously, our daughter is my wife's life. She couldn't care less about everything else. That peanut gallery has her convinced of this awesome life she will have where she runs off into the sunset with our daughter, never to hear from me again. Mind you, that group consists of approximately 0 people that have been where she is right now. Her sister can't keep a boyfriend for 5 minutes before putting him in the friend zone and going to find the next one. Her mom and aunt and godmother have all been divorced umpteen times. Godmother has no children. All her friends are either 24 and single or married to men they hate. None of her loudmouth friends have kids. All of the friends she has that I get along with have children and happy marriages. It's the rest of these women that I don't get along with that are in my wife's ear 24/7 right now. She is a conflict avoider but also very tolerant. I felt like she had adapted to my personality and had no idea it was beating her up on a daily basis. Her personality to me is like a child almost. Very naive, susceptible, and gullible. That has bothered me for a long time because she takes everyone's word for everything. I am very analytical and skeptical of most things. Believe half of what you see, etc. The two personalities are harmful to each other over time if you don't make a conscious effort to be empathetic. I see that now, and I see how to maneuver my personality in a way that is complementary of hers. But it's too late. Yesterday she replied to a text I had sent her telling her how committed I am to the marriage, and her response was, "I have been working on the marriage for a long time. I can't do it anymore. Now I'm working on my happiness. Please just let me have that." So, to her, happiness is what she envisions the outcome of the divorce to be. Any tips on how to be pleasant and happy around her when I get handed divorce papers? Or when she boxes her stuff up to move out? Or when I'm dropping my daughter off with her because my time with her is up? This is the most depressing thing I can possibly imagine. Any pointers on how to fake it? I'm not going to be good at this. Also, how is she so strong all of a sudden? Somebody who can't decide what to cook for dinner one day and the next she is taking the lead in divorce proceedings, facing the same negative aspects of this as I am, and she doesn't seem to care. Like she is holding her nose and chugging it all down. I'm serious when I say this. She clearly has not put much thought into what she is trading for her happiness. There are other ways to skin this cat. She won't consider any of them, which tells me she hasn't considered this much either. Just doing what her friends tell her to do and not even considering the ramifications of her actions. I asked my attorney about this specifically, and he said right now, absolutely not. She will become enraged and cause her to crack the whip on the divorce. He also said he plans to use the evidence of an affair to diminish her credibility in court and possibly subpoena him to testify in court. So, he said no go on the exposure. I want to throw it in the face of all her supporters and sunshine-pumping family. I'd also like to burn OM's truck to the ground. My attorney has also advised me not to do this. I hate the idea that there may be no affair, and all this is being seen by her as insane behavior. I realize now that my wife isn't gay and I overreacted to that ordeal. So that has me doubting my instincts on the possibility of there being a legit OM situation. Maybe she really is just burned out. I do love her and care about her. I can't fix her though. We have a child together and we owe that child our best possible efforts in marriage. She is leaving a lot on the table because the pursuit of her own happiness supersedes our daughter's upbringing. Edit. She doesn't see it that way though, because in her mind our daughter will have one happy home and daddy can come pick her up anytime. Screw that. I guess my plan for now is to sit around waiting to get served, then contest the D, make her prove grounds for divorce, then go for nothing less than 50-50 custody. Hopefully by then she will have a cold hard look at what life is about to be like, at which time she recognizes my 180s and decides we need to figure something out because divorce isn't going to give her the happiness she is pursuing. Reconsider, go to counseling, pick up pieces and start over. That's my fairy tale. One of the reasons she has always said she was attracted to me was because I am a decisive person and she isn't. She is more than capable of making all her own decisions, she just never has. She has in fact avoided making decisions because she was scared of making the wrong one. Outside of the pain and humiliation of trying to uncover an affair, I have always treated my wife well. The problem is our wires get crossed and my support for her is perceived as control. Or if she has a problem and I try to find a solution, it is perceived as critical or that I am indifferent. Communication is the problem. I say red and she hears blue, and vice versa. Not going to fight her per se, but I am going to stand firm on joint custody. Arkansas now prefers joint custody unless circumstances prevent it. It's something we are going to end up going to trial over, unfortunately, unless somehow her attorney can make it clear to her she will not get what she wants from the judge. It could even blow up in her face if she digs her heels in on full custody. I work from home and have a wide open, very flexible schedule. I have all the time in the world for my kid. My wife will work 5 days a week and will have evenings, nights, and weekends for our kid. We both share parenting duties as a married couple. She will argue that she is the primary caregiver and has done more than I have. The truth is I take her to school, wife picks her up. I give her baths at night, wife gets her dressed in the morning. We both change diapers. We both feed her. We both provide food, clothing, toys for her. There is no history of abuse, violence, neglect, or anything like that on either side. We are both good parents. No reason joint custody will not work. Wife will have to make the argument that she can provide a better home than I can, or that I am somehow incapable as a parent. Won't happen. Other than financial ruin, losing half of my time with my kid for the rest of her life, and paying my wife to destroy our family. Yeah, it will be alright. I do want to win my wife back, and I do see the situation for what it is. I know the odds are way against me at this point. But if getting my wife back is the goal, then I need a plan built around that. Add all the disclaimers you want to it. I am working on me in the meantime. I am seeing a therapist once a week, going to the gym, eating better, losing weight, hanging out with friends, even talking to a couple different women, non-relationship, non-physical. It's just nice to hear a female's perspective. I am focused on my wife right now and what she is doing, and I realize that's unhealthy. But I literally can't help it. I wake up in the middle of the night and my mind is racing. I can't stop feeling that she is hiding a big something. If I have a gut instinct, this is it. I know my wife better than anyone else on this earth, and this is not who she is. Yes, she may be tired of trying to find happiness for herself in the marriage, but something has given her overwhelming confidence that grass is greener elsewhere. I can't see any other explanation for all of the red flags. So yes, I am already working on myself. No, it's not making me feel any better because my life is being torn apart at the seams. No amount of leg presses at the gym changes the facts or my emotions. I'm not following her around. I'm not texting, calling her all the time. I'm not begging or any of that. If I have been communicating with her about anything other than our child or finances, it's been just me listening and trying to get her to open up to me. Look, it may sound controlling and manipulative, but all I am asking for out of this woman is the truth. She doesn't have the decency or respect for herself or me to even provide me with the truth. That's what has driven me to this extent, and I hate it. I guess a big part of my efforts to bluff a confession from my wife came from the fact that, on some level, I am letting her go and accepting that she isn't coming back. There is this conflict inside me that on one hand believes I have nothing to lose by trying it because I will be divorced either way. But on the other hand, maybe if I had the whole picture to work with, the outcome of this situation could change, or I might find the closure I need to accept this and move on. I don't have closure or even a full understanding of what is going on, and that's what I am chasing. I also realize that she is protecting herself from anything that can be used against her in court. So, to confess a full-blown affair to me right now would be one of the dumbest things she could ever do from a legal perspective. So, if I am seeking answers, she is probably the worst possible source at this point. My self-esteem is at an all-time low. I am literally being turned down by the love of my life. I feel like I am the type to have multiple rebound relationships now because I have a huge hole to fill, and that can only be filled by the companionship of a woman. All that other working on me stuff is fine, but none of it does anything for my feelings of loneliness and rejection. Also, regarding the 180 list, a lot of it seems centered around the concept of moving on. This is difficult, impossible for me right now for legal purposes. I have child custody to be concerned with, which muddies the water as to how I am supposed to pull this off. I don't want to give anyone a shred of ability to say I am abandoning my family or any variation thereof. Furthermore, it is damaging to my lawyer's attempt to portray me as a guy that truly cares about his wife and just wants the best for his family. How do I move on but do no damage here? The rest of it I can and am doing to the best of my abilities. Another thing to consider. The 180 list is written with the assumption that the reader has a pattern of behavior in the relationship of being the clinger, the follower, the chaser, and the attached one. My marriage has not been this way, believe it or not. I never have been the kind to constantly text her to check up on her and stuff. In fact, it's usually been her checking in with me. I have my own hobbies that she never got involved in, and vice versa. We have separate groups of friends that we hang out with. I have been acting and truly being happy for a long time, even though things were much worse than I knew. There are many aspects of our daily life in marriage that have played out similar to the 180 list. Hindsight being 2020, that would explain her checking out a long time ago. I have been 180 in many ways our entire marriage, indifference towards her, etc. I can't do this anymore, want out and to just move on about 1,000 times in the past 10 days. I don't remember hearing her say she doesn't love me, but she has said she can't let herself love me anymore. Splitting hairs. She probably doesn't have the nerve to tell me, and she probably on some level is scared to hurt me. She is on me about buying her a car right now. We sold her last car and had a new one on order. Then she dropped this bomb in my lap and decided she didn't want the car we ordered. Now she is wanting me to give her enough down payment money to buy the car she wants and can keep the monthly payment where she wants it. What do I do? She needs to buy a car, but I really don't want any part of it. I realize I will be giving her money when we split, but as of today I haven't been served, and that makes this marital debt. I am going to be on the hook for half of what we owe on this car. She works part-time and makes $20,000 a year. I work from home full-time and make $200,000. I going to be rich before this is over. This is the path I am taking. I owe her nothing until ordered by the court. I'm not buying her a new car until she files, and then everything becomes documented. Her rental is a 2015. Safe, reliable, economical. It's not the Mercedes she is used to driving, but hey, I'm facing a financial crisis and can't afford those types of luxuries. She has been telling me she is going for full custody of our daughter. That's the biggest middle finger she can put up. I'm not going to run out and buy her a new car because this is war. You don't buy your enemies gifts. This woman has cheated on me, lied to me, continues to hide the truth from me, is destroying our family and trying to take my daughter away from me, and all want me to buy this be a new car. She sent me an unsolicited text just now saying she didn't want to split hairs and she wanted this to be amicable, but if I want to be difficult, then that's what we can do. I replied that I don't want a divorce at all. I want to rebuild our marriage and raise our daughter together. She said, "You have made that clear." Let me rephrase that. You have made that clear with your words. I said, my actions will speak for themselves in time. In the interim, all I have is words. I don't want a divorce for many reasons, but I am accepting that it's not up to me and I have to respect your decision whether I agree with it or not. She said, "Thank you. Lawyer tells me the courts here prefer joint custody if the parents are reasonable and amicable. Also, I'm advised that grounds for divorce have no bearing on child support. I took Dee Dee to dinner last night and my wife went with her sister, mom, and friends to dinner somewhere else. We were on our way home when my wife called asking if I could come pick her up. Her mom had an allergic reaction to something and her sister drove her to the hospital. So, I went and picked her up, drove her to the hospital so she could see her mom. She was nice and said thank you for picking me up. I said no problem. Dropped her off and came home. She got home about 2 hours later. Her mom is okay. She seems to be less mean right now to me, not trying to read too much into it. It's so nice having her cold, raging angry side turned off if only for just a minute. I have been somewhat detached the whole time. Not emotionally, but sure she has felt as if I was detached. Doing my own thing with my friends or choosing hobbies that don't involve my wife instead of trying to find things to do together. That type of thing. I've been pretty selfish with my life and not gone out of my way to involve my wife in it beyond raising our daughter together. That's about all we have in common. I do love her deeply, but I realize my actions have not reflected that. When I told her I don't want a divorce at all and that I want to rebuild our marriage and raise our daughter together, she said, "You have made that clear." Let me rephrase that. You have made that clear with your words. Maybe I'm reading too far into that statement, but to me that's an invitation to convince her with my actions. Am I off base with that? She is going to the game with her sister and some of her sister's friends, not sure who, didn't ask, but it will be over around 6 p.m. Obviously she has plans after the game if she is not coming home tonight. She mentioned she might stay at her sister's. She is driving to her godparents' house to ride to the game with them, and then meet up with her sister and company. I assume she will be riding with her sister after the game since her car will be across town at her godparents' house. The guy she was talking to lives like 2 miles from her sister's house. Very close proximity. I have a guy that said he will try to do some checking up on her after the game. No tracker or VAR. She is onto my games with that stuff. Wouldn't matter in this case since she is riding with other people. She texts me during the game wanting to know how good our seats are and asking who I was with. I told her who I was with. Told her they were great seats. She sent me a selfie of herself and her best friend. Their seats were way better than mine. 50-yard line, 2 rows up from the field, seat backs, etc. I told her those look like great seats. Then after the game she texted me and asked me if the people that I was at the game with were staying at our house tonight. I said I didn't know. They aren't. I proposed something very similar and was shut down on the spot. She wouldn't even consider it. I offered the divorce she wanted if she would do marriage counseling with me for 3 months. She said no. As of today, it's been 13 days since the day she said she's done. Still no divorce papers. Not sure what to make of that. Just an observation. Had a PA follow her last night. Lost them going into the game and never got a visual after that. He confirmed that nobody stayed at wife's sister's house as of 5:30 a.m. this morning. Nobody at OM's house either. Have no idea where wife stayed last night, but it wasn't where she told me she would be. I made a point to be home at a reasonable time last night. I will make a point to the judge in court that my wife still parties like she is 21-year-old and lies about where she stays instead of coming home. Meanwhile, I was home by 9 p.m. and sober as a judge. Part of me says she is testing me, trying to push my jealousy button and get a rise out of me which will validate her wanting a divorce. The other side of me wants to call her on her BS and get the truth, even though I'd have no way of knowing if her story is true or BS. I can't trust anything she says right now. Edit, I called her just now to work out logistics of picking up my kid from her mom's. Asked if she was okay and asked where she stayed. Told her I was a little concerned after I didn't hear from her. She said she stayed at one of her friend's house. My comment, let her go. This stuff about who she's with and where she's sleeping is irrelevant except that it gets your emotions riled up. Whether she's doing it on purpose to upset you, or just in her own world and completely ignorant of how upset you are, it doesn't matter. You are separating from her and ultimately divorcing her. Her whereabouts and what she says about them won't affect things, except if you let them upset you and react in anger. The part in bold is the only relevant bit of your post, though I suppose the rest of it confirms that she's not interested in saving the marriage. So, move forward with the separation. Stop communicating with her about anything that isn't about the separation process or your daughter. Get a separation agreement made up and give it to her. Ask for her to sign it or provide you with a counter proposal. I can't believe OP got the proof he needed and wants her back. Just shaking my head at this point. Don't be this guy.